So, what is the imposter syndrome? In your words, if you want to contribute, if you want to write something, say what you feel the imposter syndrome is, what it is. So I put something here, a pattern of doubting your own skills, talents, accomplishments, capacity, or maybe not feeling good enough. And I don't know if you ever felt like that. I have, for sure, I have. And well, it's actually not only that, but it's also protection and it's a defense mechanism. It's not because you are not good enough. It's because you are trying to protect yourself. And I will explain why you do that and what's stopping you, okay? Have you ever felt like this? That you wanted to stop everything, not do the things you're doing because you didn't feel good enough? You want to know that? Okay, so we are going to talk about the 5 core wounds that every human being has. And, you know, from the time we were in our mom's belly to about 6 years old, we've all been through a lot. Since when our mom was pregnant, we were there. And during all this time in our childhood, many things happened to us specifically and in our families. And these things, they shaped our nervous system. Because our nervous system was shaped in certain ways with certain situations, you can see how a person works, how their mind works, looking at the shapes of their bodies. I'm sure you haven't heard about that if you were not here with me before. And then I can look at a person's body and I can understand what their core wounds are. And the imposter syndrome is different for everybody, as procrastination is different for everybody. And I had a class about procrastination, and we have different reasons for that. And it's protection, and it's a defense mechanism. And I'm going to tell you more about it. So the 5 core wounds are rejection, abandonment, manipulation, humiliation, and betrayal or exclusion, the last one. And because we went through a lot of things, our minds work a certain way. And this is what you're going to understand today. I'm going to run briefly through 4 of the core wounds, and I'm going to talk more today. I'm going to talk more about the last one. That is the one responsible for the imposter syndrome, okay? So rejection is, we can see, as I told you, in the body of a person, the person that felt rejected in their mom's belly. It doesn't mean they were rejected, but they will have certain characteristics in their minds and in their bodies. So it doesn't mean they were rejected, but they will have like this dead fish eye. They will have like a big forehead. They will be full of, you can see their joints. They're very thin. Their mind is disconnected from their body, and they are very logical people. There are several things about them. Okay, so this was when we were in our mom's belly, mom's womb. And then we are born. Then several things happen in our lives. And because of these things, our body will have some physical characteristics. Because I don't want to feel abandoned again, I will have this is my main one, okay? I will have big cheeks. I will have the needy eyes, and I will have a round face. I will be I will be softer, all because I want to have my brain, my nervous system made me huggable for me to avoid abandonment. And this is how it goes. Because of things that happened, our nervous system shaped our bodies, okay? So, and the people, they have superpowers, and they have pains also. It all comes together. Because of the abandonment pain, I can connect with people. I can see how I'm very empathetic. I see how they're feeling just looking at them. I can connect with them. I can offer them like a friendly shoulder, okay? Because of the pain, I have superpowers. And I'm moving fast through these because I want to go straight to the one that matters today. And I talked about all these a few weeks ago. So if you go to my YouTube later, you're going to find the complete class talking about each of the core wounds and characteristics and superpowers and pains. Then we have manipulation, the core wound that is manipulation. Like about 1.5-year-old, we started doing things, you know, the phase when the child is so cute and start clapping and saying small sentences. Then we understand that we have to do things in order to be loved. And this turns into a core wound. Like you go to your mommy and say, "Oh, mommy, look at my drawing. Did you see how high I jumped?" This kind of thing. Sometimes parents, we are not prepared as parents, and we just say, well, yeah, whatever. And then, or we praise the child so they understand that they have to do a lot to be loved. And this is how we go in life. And because we don't want to feel that manipulation, like if I don't do anything, they won't love me, we have a certain body, like to gain territory, to show, like Cristiano Ronaldo, you know, he's taking up territory, he's making himself big, like to conquer, to show his importance. And another characteristic of this one is the smile that's one-sided, as if, you know, manipulate, as if you're two different people. And so they are very logical, they're not very emotional. They have like the hip has starts, they have triangles in their bodies, and like in the chin and on the torso. Also the hips, like you have a wider hip and then it narrows. There are just a few characteristics here. It's because you want to take up territory and show your importance. Then we will go to the next one. After, like, when you're potty training as a child, when you're like 3 years old, 3.5, then there's the humiliation pain, the core wound of when you are potty training. You have to hold not only the things that happen, like the things that you do in the diapers, but also like your mom says, "Oh, you should have told me. What did you do?" Or your sister, brother were like, "Mommy, they are stinking." You know, you felt humiliated, and also because things are happening in your family. Because of that, you feel like you have to hold a lot. In this bigger picture, there is one of the ex-presidents of Brazil, and I would love it if you could give me examples of people in the US that are kind of square. This is like the people are very square, and because of this phase in their lives, they understood that they have to hold everything. Their butts will be like as if you had hit them, and the muscles of this person are all like hard, and the skin, instead of being soft like mine, they are harder. They're very consistent, and they have very thick calves, and the mouth is downturned or straight, and they have bags under their eyes. They have like a tired and submissive look. So there are certain characteristics that I'm talking here about today, but it can be a lot more complex and complete, and I'm telling you just a little bit. So for them, they have to hold a lot. So they have a body that is like, I can carry a lot of weight. I can, you know, because of the pains that they had as they were children. And these people, they are very emotional. They don't show. And they are very methodic, and they like rules. They like to be on the safe side. They're not good at improvising. Everybody has different characteristics, and you can see that just by looking at the person's body. Of course, we are a mix of 5 things. We are not one of them, okay? My main one is the abandonment core wound. But we all have all the 5 core wounds that bring us characteristics. And the one that we're going to talk about today is the exclusion or betrayal pain core wound. So I'm going to talk more deeply about it today. And especially women, we tend to have a lot of that. This core wound starts when we are like 4 or 5 years old. And it's the moment when our sexual energy starts in our body. Everything was there. We had all the body complete, but ding, there's a moment that something happens. And this is also that moment when all the little girls fall in love. Okay, so I'm talking to only women here. All the little girls fall in love with their dads, even if they are terrible dads, or even if they are dead, even if they're not there. So it's like this. At this moment, we fall in love for the first time with our daddies. And then we are not corresponded the way our childish fantasy thinks that we should be. And we get disappointed, okay? And also because there's a triangle there. Even if this dad is amazing and wonderful, there's mommy there. So you are in a love triangle at that moment. You know, this time when every boy falls in love with the mom, every girl falls in love with the daddy. And many things happen there. And at this moment, because we went through this, that it doesn't matter if the daddy is the superhero or the bad guy. It's not like, if you don't have a lot of this, it's just because this is not a very important thing for you. In my case, my daddy was my superhero. It's as difficult as for a person whose daddy was a drunken man or beat the mother. So it's as difficult. It's important, okay, in my life, and maybe it's important in yours. And if you're here, if you have the imposter syndrome and you're looking for a solution or knowing more about it, you probably have a lot of that. And I would ask if your daddy is the superhero or the bad guy, or a little of both, because maybe the father is very, very nice, very sweet, but then he's weak and doesn't make money. And the mother has to go there and do everything by herself because the man is weak. Or maybe he is a very nice man, but he's extremely demanding. So you feel that you're not good enough. So there are many things around that. Are you with me? Girls, tell me in the comments how you're feeling about it, and if it's clear to understand, or ask me questions if you need me to slow down or something, or repeat something. So this is when this develops, okay? And the characteristics of this woman who fell in love with the daddy and was not corresponded is like she lost the competition. So she didn't get what she wanted. Because she didn't get what she wanted, because she lost, because she was not chosen, she will develop her mind, her nervous system will develop a very competitive body. So she has a body that is made for winning. So for you not to lose again, you're going to have a competitive body. For example, the abandonment pain, you have like a more round body like mine, or even my shoulders, they fall like this. I'm more round, more huggable. But people with the exclusion or betrayal pain, that is this one, they will have a more competitive body, an hourglass shaped body, and they will have sexy lips. They will have like a sex appeal. If they go to the gym, they will be better, like faster. And look at this Brad Pitt look, or Angelina's look, it's all sexy. She doesn't have to say anything. She's just this way. She's just sexy. This is the brain. The nervous system does that. It's not, it's not by chance. So because you lost, you have a very competitive body and a very competitive mind. Then when you are in pain, like, and this, we're going to start talking about the things like that have to do with the imposter syndrome. People with a strong exclusion or betrayal pain or wound, they hate being compared because they lost, remember? They lost once and they hate being compared. They are very undecided. And I'm telling you the characteristics. And if you want to make comments here, feel free. I want to read them. They hate being compared. They're very undecided. They are full of plan Bs. The plan B is like this. I'm married. Sometimes I think I should be single. And then you're resting. And then you think you should be working. And then you are single. Then you think you should be dating someone. And you are with your kids. Then you think you should be working. So you're always divided. You're never there 100%. Because in the past, in that moment of your development, you had only, like, you gave your heart to someone, and that someone broke your heart. You gave all of you to someone, and they broke your heart. And then you never want to give yourself totally again because it's dangerous. So you're never 100% committed with things. So you always have plan Bs, and you're always divided, and you're always undecided. Does that happen to you? Well, there's also another thing that is the perfectionism, because in that time, because you lost once, your mind says, I have to be good enough. I can never lose. And how do I do? Like, how can I be chosen this time? I have to be perfect. So do you understand where your perfectionist comes from? You have to be perfect and you can't lose again. And that's why you demand so much of yourself. And we're going to go into the imposter syndrome soon. And then you feel that you're not perfect enough. Like in life, for whatever you do, you think it's not good enough. Like, oh, you did a great thing, you did a great presentation, or you did something good. And then you start looking again and you say, I think I should have done this blue. I think I should have done this different. I think I should have said something else. So then you always say that what you did was not good enough or was not as good as it could have been. And when you have this, when you're in this mindset, when your brain built you this way, you need to control. I don't know why I put no control there, but I want to mean that when you're in pain, you try to control everything. You're a control freak. And so this is explained in your nervous system. It's not for nothing. It has a root in your childhood. And you want to try to control everything around you because you want to win this time. You want to be first, as it didn't happen in childhood. And then you stop. And you don't do things that you want because you can lose. Sometimes you procrastinate or you don't do the things that you are like, Stephanie mentioned something about pivoting something new. You want to do something nice in your life and you don't because you lost before. And it's like a trauma. Oh, what if I don't do it right? What if I don't succeed? And then you stop and you don't do it. And this is very connected to the imposter syndrome. And then, I don't know if you watched this animation, Inside Out. Have you ever? Have you ever watched this? What I'm talking about is exactly what happens in that movie. Yeah, so it is, and we can connect each one of them, each of the characters there, to what I'm talking about. We have all the parts of us, all these little parts of us that are always, when we're in pain, they're fighting against each other. They're trying to control and lead us. And then we don't succeed doing things. But when we know these parts of us, when we are aware of them, and when we make them work together, And when we take care of them, we can succeed in our plans, as it happened in Inside Out, the animation, the movie. The little girl had a lot of problems. Everything was a mess. Everything was a confusion. And then suddenly they all worked together for the common good. But before that, it was a confusion. So our minds, and we are like that. There's a lot happening. All parts of us are inside of us, in our minds, trying to control, trying to lead us. And when we're not aware of their existence, we don't understand why we cry a lot. We don't understand why we procrastinate. We don't understand why we're not in a relationship. We don't understand why we feel rejected. We don't understand why we're always trying to prove things to people. Like, there are so many things that happen, and it's all explainable with our nervous system, okay? And so the 5 core wounds, they have an explanation, and it's in psychology, and it's called character structures. It was a part of psychology. Reich was responsible for that, for naming the character structures. And they are it's a set of characteristics that show who we are, that make us who we are, okay? So this is what we're talking about. So each of them, I talked about the rejection core wound, and the rejection core wound has a name, guys, but please, the names are horrible, but they're technical, they're scientific names. So I'm sorry, they're not very friendly names, but the schizoid is the one that is the core, the core wound is the rejection. Oral abandonment. Psychopathic is the manipulation. Masochist, and it's nothing to do with the films, the psychopath, it's not that, okay? And the masochist is the humiliation pain, and the rigid is the one that is betrayal and exclusion, and this is the one we're talking about today, okay? So let me try to let me put myself here. So the superpowers of this, of all the pains that I talked about, is execution. They do a lot. They are very persistent. They are very competitive. They are very proactive. They are agile. They have a lot of perseverance. So they are amazing, but it's also difficult if you have a lot of it. As I told you, we are a mix of 5 core wounds and 5 character structures, and we are this mix. And depending on the combination we are, depending on how we are dealing with it, we can be in pain. And then let me. So the difficulties that we have, the schizoid will have difficulty with execution, with physical contact. They don't like contact very much. They are very impatient. They live in their own cave. They isolate. So the oral, the one that is my main one, not very objective, too emotional, too intense, emotional dependent many times if you don't know how you are, how your mind works. Sometimes you cry too much and you don't understand why, and this is the explanation. Like they are very intense and they fluctuate. So sometimes you're very happy and then very sad, and then everything is wonderful, beautiful, and then suddenly you're gonna die. Organization is difficult too, and we need attention. Okay, the ones that need attention are oral, psychopathic, and rigid. And then we like to shine. And sometimes in life, you're not shining, you are not seen. And all of this can make your life even more difficult. So once you understand what parts of you are making it difficult for you, you can work on that, and everything will be better because you know how to deal with yourself. I don't know if it ever happened to you that you don't know how to deal with yourself. You're mad at yourself because you don't know how to deal with yourself. It happened to me. So the psychopathic, not emotional, kind of insensitive sometimes, manipulative. They can betray if they are in pain. They are usually very fair people, but when they're bad with themselves, like when we're not okay with this part of them, they can betray. And they are attention seekers. So sometimes they do too much because they need the attention. And they do things that they don't want to do because they need the attention. I don't know if you ever felt this way. So the masochist, that is a great, very responsible with method person. They isolate when they're not feeling good about themselves. They are emotional trash cans to other people because of emotional dependency. They make mistakes, and they are usually the people who are very methodic, and they start making a lot of mistakes and they explode. You know, those people that they keep things for themselves. They just swallow everything, and some moment they will burst. And then the other people will say, oh my God, what happened? Just because I said this. But it's just because they have been keeping things for a long time. They have been keeping and holding and holding. And then at a certain point, they can't stand it anymore. But they usually tend to take a lot from other people. And then finally, the one that we're talking about today, the rigid character structure, or betrayal or exclusion wound. When they're in pain, they will be very jealous. They can be very jealous. They can be very insecure. And they will have the imposter syndrome. They have a lot of emotional dependency. Oh, I left perseverance here is good, not bad. They are very undecided and they need approval. You know what happened? Remember that time when they were like 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, they fell in love with daddy, since we're all girls here, and they were not corresponded the way they expected. So they feel they're not enough and they try to control everything around them. And it will make them very perfectionist. And that's exactly where the imposter syndrome comes from. The imposter syndrome is when we are in pain, when this rigid character structure of ours is in pain, emotional pain, this trauma. Because we feel this pain, we procrastinate, we don't do the things that we are that we want to do. So it happened to me in some points of my life too, not wanting to do things or feeling, who am I? I don't know if you ever asked yourself, or if anybody has ever asked you, like, who do you think you are to do this? And maybe you asked yourself, who do you think you are to talk about something that people in the US don't know about? And you're Brazilian, your English is not perfect. Like, I have all the reasons not to be doing this. But because I can deal with myself and because I use this in my life, I'm here talking to you today. My English is not perfect. Nobody else is talking about it here. In Brazil, like, they have millions of people talking about it, not here. So who do you think you are to be talking about something that nobody talks about? And maybe this stopped you a few times in life. Or maybe you were promoted at some point and you felt like you were not good enough to do that. I don't know if you have ever been through situations like that when imposter syndrome stopped you. And if you did, talk to me in the chat. Talk to me, and I want to understand and see what happened. And but you can deal with that once you know it. And there are things that you can do not to be in this pain. For all the difficulties that you see in this chart, there are things that you do, the way you treat yourself, for you to feel good about yourself, for them to be, for this part of you to be fine. You know, there's a lot of things that happened when you were a child. Me, everyone. Sometimes we were not recognized enough. We were not hugged enough. We were not held enough. We were not told that we were good enough. Everything is missing here. Oops. So my cup is a little empty, and I am the one responsible for taking care of this now. When you are an adult, you are the one responsible to manage yourself. You can't depend anymore on what you didn't have as a child. So this is what you learn how to do, okay? And then how do I do that? And how do I know what parts of you are the most important ones? I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. And after, I'm going to talk about how to manage the imposter syndrome at the end, what you have to do, okay? So this is like, it's a chart. It's an assessment that we do that I measure. I analyze 6 parts of your body. The parts of your body are your head, the shape of your head, the shape of your eyes, the shape of your mouth, the shape of your torso, the shape of your hips, and the shape of your legs. And then I put everything in this tool, all the points, I calculate all the points in this tool, which will give me a graph. This is like the graph of who you are. So you will understand the percentage of emotional dependence you have, the percentage of ambition, the abandonment pain, and how much you need to be seen, and what things you have to do to be fine with yourself, to not give up on things, to how do you stop like wasting money with things that are not important, and you do that maybe for trauma. You know, some people make a lot of money, but they can't keep the money. Or sometimes they feel guilty because other people around them don't have money. Like all kinds of self-sabotage. You can look at this and you can understand why you react and the way you react about things. And then your graph will be like this, structure combination. With that, I know that this how much this person needs attention, how much they procrastinate, how much they feel like they can't be good enough. So if you're interested, I'm going to tell you more about how to tackle the imposter syndrome. But if you're interested, also the QR code is, this process is done in one session, you know. It's one session in 2 hours. You understand how your mind works and the tricks it's been playing on you. And you learn how to control, how to manage yourself. So knowing who you are, you know how to manage yourself. And this is the thing that changed my life at a certain point when I was divorcing. I couldn't get divorced because I felt like it was so difficult. I felt so guilty. How can I can't deal with the pain of leaving the other person behind, because I had a lot of the abandonment pain, and also because I had a lot of the rigid pain, the one that has the daddy issues, okay? Like my daddy was my superhero, so I would do everything to sabotage my love life. And then this thing changed my life. I was trying to divorce for a few months and I couldn't. I felt bad. I couldn't do it. After this session, in 12 days, I had all the papers. I was divorced. I came to my new life in the US. Okay, so it changes lives and it's amazing. But anyway, so it's a 1 hour, 2 hour sessions. And I have this promotional price for the US now because I do that in Brazil a lot. But here I'm starting. It's 200 now here. And you can access the code, the QR code if you want. But so, and why do we use it for? Why do we use the body mind analysis or body mind assessment? If you're procrastinating, if you're having financial difficulties, if you can't change careers or you're facing difficulties with your career, if you have relationship problems, can be love life, also emotional dependence in people like with your mom, with your sister, relationship problems with people in general, okay? Difficulties with weight loss, and I've had them a lot, and I've been losing a lot of weight since last year. And fighting with addictions, it's also the oral character structure. The abandonment pain is the one responsible for addictions and weight problems. And burnout syndrome, difficulties to say no, and a lot more things. But now we're going to talk about the procrastination, the imposter syndrome thing. So remember I told you, how do we deal with this part of us that has been sabotaging ourselves? And how do you stop this behavior of feeling not enough? There's one thing. We are people with the imposter syndrome. They are very perfectionists. So when you are perfectionist, you never do something and think it's 100% that's perfect. Do you? If you're here, probably not. Like, I do something and I feel it's good. And then I work on it and take longer and longer, and I spend time with it, and I don't move on because I want it to be perfect. But as soon as it's perfect, then you find another step of not perfect. You find another level of not perfect. So you're always trying to improve the things and yourself. And this can be very challenging. So there is something that I didn't know, and it exists. I always told my clients about the 70% rule, but I didn't know it was a thing. So the 70% rule is, whenever you think that what you did or what you're preparing is 70%, it's excellent for the whole world. It's excellent. Because come on, you know that whenever you finish something, you're gonna find problems with it. So 70% good, just move on. Next. So this is for you. You are not, for you, it's not good enough. But for the rest of humanity, it is gonna be good. So when you have, it's 70% to your standards, perfect, just go. Just let it go. Okay. The other thing is learning how to say no, because people with imposter syndrome, sometimes they will say yes because they need attention, they need recognition, but they will get stuck. And you learn how to say no. And you don't say no because of emotional dependency. And that's a part of what you have to deal with. So when you learn how to say no to certain things, you will have more free, your mind will be freer for you to say yes to the things that you want to do, okay? Because the same pattern of people who are very perfectionist, they also say a lot of yeses because they want to be first and they want to be chosen. So that's a known fact. And then I will tell you to be your best friend. Oh, I just skipped one. Be your best friend, because we are usually terrible with ourselves. If your friend made a mistake and they come tell you, you say no, it's not a big problem. Tomorrow everything will be good. You're good enough. But when it happens to you, I'm sure you don't do the same. I'm sure you're not kind and nice with yourself. And I've been there. I've been in this place too. And I know how it is. So instead of recognizing yourself and saying, yeah, way to go, next time it's going to be better. Okay, everything is going to be fine. No, you say how bad you are, how not good enough you are. It's like you are in a toxic relationship with yourself. Have you ever been in this situation? And then stop being cruel to yourself, okay? Be your best friend. You have to be your best friend. If you're not your best friend, no one else will be. If you don't recognize yourself, no one else will. And then also, give yourself small rewards and prizes. For when you have the imposter syndrome, you're stuck and you're not doing the things because you don't feel good enough. So knowing this is going to happen, give yourself small prizes and rewards. Okay, so if I do this that I'm trying to avoid doing because I don't feel good enough, I'm going to give myself this purse that I wanted to buy, or I'm going to go to the special place that I wanted to go. I'm going to buy this special piece of clothing that I really wanted to. Give yourself something and celebrate, because many times you just see the bad in you. You're not celebrating all the good in you, because these people, they're very proactive. They do a lot, but then most times they cannot see how good they are. They just see the bad part or what's missing or how not good enough they are. The small rewards and prizes are for you to keep doing and praising yourself and celebrating, okay? This helps a lot. And then when you are stopping, when you're like procrastinating because you don't feel good enough, you're going to make a list of the advantages in doing something you want to do. Because you're stopped, you're stuck, many times because you don't see your value, you don't feel like you're good enough, but you don't see the advantages in doing. So, okay, if I do this, what's important for this person? To be first, to be chosen, to shine. So if I do this, what do I win? What do I get from it? So will I be seen? Will I be promoted? What do I get from it? So make a list. Try to see the advantages in doing things. Bribe yourself to do the things you want to do. And then concentrate. And the people with this imposter syndrome also, as the procrastination, you look at the whole package and then it's difficult for you to see only the next step. But when you look at the whole set of stairs, everything you want is too far. So you get disappointed, you get frustrated because you see, and it's too much. And then you freak out. You feel insecure, you feel you're not going to make it. But look only at the next step. My next step today was being here. Even if there was one person, two people, I had like 25 people enrolled for today. And I'm so thankful because a few people showed up and you're here with me till now. Everybody who started here is still here and I'm so happy. My next step is talk about the imposter syndrome in English for the first time. So I'm here doing it and I'm going to celebrate myself for doing it, even if it was not perfect, even if I might have forgotten something. So praise yourself, be your best friend, cheer for you. And also a challenge for those people is to trust. And then I told you that you don't give yourself 100% for something, to something, and trust little by little. So maybe you are pivoting your next career or your new project. Just go little by little and start trusting yourself to start with, because it's difficult for you to trust other people, but it's also difficult for you to trust yourself. But that's an agreement that you have to have. And you start trusting little by little. And it works. I'm sure that if you start doing these things, it's going to be easier. Your life is going to be better. You're going to succeed in your projects. So the imposter syndrome is a matter of giving yourself permission to do things. There's also emotional dependency involved. And I don't know, like it depends a lot on your combination. Some people have more, some people have less, because we're a mix, remember, of all the kinds of core wounds. And when you say no to the things that are not the most important, and when you become your best friend, when you have the 70% rule, when you give yourself small prizes and celebrate your achievements, when you see the advantages of doing things and you concentrate only on the next step, you're going to be helping this part of you that can sabotage you because they are not looked at. Okay. So this is what I had to talk to you about today. Thanks for your company. My oral character structure, the one that feels the abandonment one, the abandonment core wound, feels happy that you were here with me till the end. Thank you, girls. Bye-bye.